Hello one and all, this is Hybridsteel. Thank you very much for joining me in today's video. A little bit different from my normal gameplay videos, but hey, I decided to make this video because it's you guys that sort of helped out. Actually, there was mainly two people that really helped out on this. So let's get into this now. This is my brand new home studio gaming office and everything else PC now. So let's get into the list then, shall we? So first off, I want to say a massive, I mean huge, massive, I don't know how much else I can thank this man for doing what he did. If you have watched my videos, you'd know that I got donated around $500 in one of my streams from a man called Vapor Trailers. The guy's a legend. He basically built my brand new computer. He sent me them. He basically paid me the money, and I've gone and blown it on a new computer. Another hats off to RPM Nexus, the bargain reviewer, because he alone he put money into this channel as well, and that money went on to building this computer as well. So let's get into the actual build. First off, I went for a Ryzen 7 3700X, and the reason why I went for this is because it comes with 8 cores, so it's good for everything I do when it comes to streaming and gaming. And the office work, rendering, and everything else I do around here literally needed that. And I've got to be honest, it works stunningly. It's so quick on launch, so quick on everything else. And it was just one of those things that I went for because I needed the extra speed. And it's popping up really well on like test benching and stuff like that. I'll put them up on the screen as you can see now. The motherboard I went with a Gigabyte B45 Aorus Elite. Now, yes, I could have gone with a Z range board or an X range board, and that would have given me a little bit more leeway when it comes to, you know, future-proofing myself. But the board I went for came with the USB ports I needed, considering that I have like lights, my mouse, my camera, everything else running out of the USB ports. I mean, I even have a hub for the LED lights, and because they won't reach to the computer itself. But I use up quite a lot of USB ports for what I do, so I needed the extra USB outage, so I needed this board. Comes with everything I need it, plus the 2 that are on the case. I think I've now got 2 utility, 2 standard USB ports, 4 USB 3 ports, yeah, and the 2 on the case, so I've got enough. The memory is Crucial Ballistic 16 GB 3200, and that is the RGB version. And the reason why I went with RGB is because I wanted little bits of RGB, not like a whole case full of like evil disco stuff. I wanted something a little bit more subtle. Admittedly, I've actually called this the Tiny Disco because it does flicker around a little bit, but it's all under my desk, so literally the underside of my desk looks like it's a little disco. I went with a Western Digital 500 gig M2 drive. Now, when you're installing an M2 drive, don't do what I did. I put the M2 drive in the wrong slot and then tried installing Windows. Didn't recognize the drive, and then I spent 3 hours going, what the hell? Tore everything apart, put it all back together, and went, it was in the wrong slot. I get you now. Fantastic. So that was me being a noob. I also went with a Seagate Barracuda 2 TB hard drive, and this is the one that's going to be storing up all my artwork, my games, my folders, everything I tend to spend my life doing on a computer is basically where it all's going to be stored. And it took a little bit of time faffing around. I had to change the name and make it more like it had to be recognized as well. Being recognized, I've never done this before. You had to go into the actual device manager settings and actually allocate it a number and everything else, and now it works and it's all good. The graphics card. Now this is where I went with a little bit of extra too much power, and I've had a few comments back on my Facebook page, and people are like, oh, why didn't you just go with this card? The reason why I went with an MSI GeForce Ventus an RTX 2060 Super 8 gig card is because my previous machine, and you know from the potato that I had bought that I'm going to be cleaning up and actually giving somebody who needs a computer, I went from a 1050 Ti 4 gig card to a dual fan 8 gig 2060 Super, and every benchmark I've done so far it has come up top trumps for me. Now, I know out there are better performing cards, even some of the older cheaper ones, but I wanted something that's going to last me 5 to 6, maybe even 10 years, depending on how long this machine is going to last me. And that's why I went with what I did. At the moment, I can play every single one of the games that I want to play on the high settings that I want to play on. I'm not going into 4K gaming. I'm not even going into 1440 gaming. I'm sticking at 1080p for at least another couple of years because I only have 1080p monitors. I don't have 1440 monitors. I don't have 4K monitors. I have bare necessities, and I'm slowly upgrading. It's going to take me a couple of years to get like 4K monitors or 1440 monitors. I don't have a lot of money, and it's only thanks to the people who donated to this channel have I got this PC. So at the moment, if I'm running 400 frames a second in a 1080p game, I'm very happy. So thank you very much for your criticism, but this is something I built for me to play on the games that I'm playing on. And when it comes to the case, I bought a Fantex Eclipse P350X. And the reason why I bought this is because I didn't want the case to have like tons of RGB all over it. I didn't want it to look like the face of a good night out on a Saturday night going, yeah, disco. What I wanted was a little bit of subtlety. Now, if you look at this case from the front, there are two very small lines of RGB running down through the center. This to me is quite subtle, it's nice, and it's pinstripe, and it actually looks pretty smart. Obviously, if you turn the case to the side, you see what's going on inside, and it's got one very small strip of RGB that runs down the side of the case as well. Very cool. If you just wanted to build a black machine and just highlight small parts, this case is amazing for it. It's not very big on the inside, and the motherboard took a little bit of a wiggle to get it in, but we finally got there, and actually the only thing about it was like trying to like point like cables through the little hole at the back, trying to get everything maneuvered. But I got there. It's all good. Now the power supply is a Game Max RGB. Yes, it is RGB. I only want it because I only needed 550 watts worth of power to run this entire computer. 550 watts. This was the cheapest fully modular like core I could find, and it was, I think it was like 70 quid in all. And it was fully modular, so I only had to connect the wires I needed to connect, and it was all good. And it fits the right purpose, and it's all good. And yes, okay, it has got RGB on it, but it's in a shroud. You don't see any of this unless you turn the computer upside down. I mounted the power supply upside down because the fan is now pushing air out and under from my computer. I have a lot of exhaust fans going on this computer, so the front two fans that I'm running are literally like bringing sucking air in. They have the full like filters on them as well. The two fans that sit on top of the machine are exhaust fans, pushing heat out of, well, pulling heat out of the machine. The fan on the back of the computer, which came with the case, I changed the case fan from the front to the back and used that as another exhaust. So there are 3 sets of exhaust fans going on in this machine and only one set sucking air in. It runs on average at idle at 37 degrees, so I'm quite happy with the fact that the Wraith cooler is keeping the Ryzen 7 3700X very cool as well. The fans I bought were from Amazon. They're a company called Easy DIY. I think it was 10 quid for a 2-pack of fans, and I bought 2 packs of fans and then slotted them all to the case. These fans are 120mm and not 140mm, and they're not an AIO as well, which is, for me, it was actually quite fine. I was quite happy with the way it came out. I didn't want the RGB randomly decorating out my computer. I went with a very subtle white, and it actually does look pretty smart under my table. My kids actually look at it now, and I mean, Ollie, if I play like a little bit of music, he'll actually dance to my computer, which is a bit strange, but that's why I call it the tiny disco, because it actually looks like a tiny disco. So this is the benchmark I did on User Benchmark, and it's a performance rating. It's 100% for gaming, it's 98% as a desktop, and it's 98% as a workstation. It's literally coming up on their ranking of nuclear submarine, which is it's just beneath UFO. Okay, so that's where I wanted this machine to be something that's going to help me like get through the next sort of 5 to 7 years. I can quite happily display at 1920 1080. Everything I've got is hitting up into the top end, and it's hitting above expectations, 70 on the 72nd percentile. The benchmark on all of this equipment is going ideally. This is what I wanted out of a machine to start with. And the other screen, I did a benchmark test in the Heaven benchmark, and my average frames per second was 228. My minimum was 9.6, but I was actually seeing every time it loaded into a new scene, like FPS would just drop out the center of the earth, but that's sort of what happens in most games anyway. And my max FPS was 424 frames per second. So though that test for Heaven wasn't done at like massively high, it wasn't done at ultra, it was done at like the highest apart from not being ultra. And that's the sort of settings I'm going to be looking at in every game I play. And if I can make the games I play, because I play bog standard simulation style gaming, if I can make them look as good as they can, then the only thing I've got to improve on is me as a commentator. So for all the people that have donated to this channel over the last couple of months, for all the people that have donated and you know where that money has gone, And I told you at the start I would be as transparent as I could be when it came to what I spend your money on. Because at the end of the day, it's your money you're giving to me for what I do on YouTube. So I always said that I would be 100% transparent with the money you give me. And that is what I'm doing today. Literally, sat here telling you about what I bought with the money you have given me. So once again, guys, thank you very much for this. Thank you very much for the continued support. If you're watching this video and you think, hey, I could, chuck a couple of quid to this guy, you can join as a member now. Down in the description, well, down underneath this video, there's a little join button. You click that, you pay this channel £4.99 a month, which comes in, I think, at about £3.80 after YouTube tax. And that goes into buying games for this channel. If you want to buy merchandise, there's a link in the description box below that goes down to the new Hybridsteel merch shop, which is on Stream Elements. That is, I think I make about £5 per t-shirt on that because it's down as dollars. So yeah, I make about £5 per shirt. I design them myself. They're not done by anybody else. I don't hire a designer. I can partially do it myself to the best of my abilities. But yeah, even if you don't want to do any of that, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. That's the least I can ask of you. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for everything you guys have done. Again, massive, massive shout out. RPM Nexus, the bargain reviewer. Link in the description box below to his channel. Vapor Trailers, dude, thank you very much for everything you've done already. You haven't been around here long, but you have made the biggest impact to this channel in years. So thank you very much, guys, for your time. Thank you very much for your thank you very much for everything you've done. And I'll continue to try and do the best I can to entertain you with the videos I put out. So thank you very much, guys. Peace out. Have fun and enjoy everything you guys do. Bye bye for now.